Okay, so for the zoo project, one of the most important things that you need to do is you need to go make sure that you have the instructions handy as you're working the project. The instructions are in Canvas, and it's all laid out very, I think, clearly for you. But you want to make sure you're reading the instructions. I'm going to go over the basics for you so that you don't mess up on the basics. I do give you a place to lay out your area calculations, which you're going to reproduce each one of your areas and show me how you find the total area of each enclosure. But make sure that you're reading the specifications about how many animals you have for the enclosure, what's the minimum square footage for each one of them, and those are minimums. For the 5 animals that are given to you, the elephants, the rhinos, the hippos, the giraffes, and the buffalo. And then you have your 6th animal for which you have to do a little bit of research. And that's going to be the only animal that's not enclosed in a polygonal region. This one's going to be an irregular shape that has curvy edges that you're going to use Pick's formula for. For the other ones, you're just going to use just area of rectangle, area of triangle. So let me demonstrate. On your grid paper, and you're going to do scratch work on grid paper, you're going to reproduce the areas for each animal on grid paper to show me how you calculate the area for that. And you are going to need lots and lots of grid paper for this. Well, not lots and lots, but several sheets. So the first thing you want to do is you want to pick a scale. And when I say a scale, that's just what's the distance between any 2 points on that grid. So the suggested scale that I gave you was a number between 4 and 6, which really doesn't give you a whole great lot of variety, but if you pick a number much bigger than 6, your zoo's going to look really, really tiny on your final draft. If you pick a number smaller than 4, it might take up more space than your final draft graph paper will allow. So pick either 4 feet, 5 feet, or 6 feet as your scale. So if I pick this as 5 feet, that's 5 linear feet, the distance between any 2 points. So if I look at any given square would be a 5 foot by 5 foot square, meaning that the area contained inside each square would be 25 square feet. 5 times 5, 25 feet squared. Again, it doesn't have to be 5 linear feet. It could be 3, could be 4, could be 5. I guess, yeah, not 3, 4, 5, or 6 were my suggested numbers. Don't have to stick with them. Again, that's the distance between 2 points on the grid. Then when you look at the instructions, and I've said this for every class, so I'm repeating it, one of the very few very specific values that you have to have is the zookeeper's enclosure. So the zookeeper's enclosure is where the zookeeper keeps his or her supplies to take care of the animals, to feed them, to clean their cages. So the zookeeper's enclosure is the only one that has an exact measurement. It has to be 20 feet by 60 feet, and it has to have a 10-foot wide walkway leading into it. And all of the animal cages or all the animal enclosures need to surround that zookeeper's enclosure so that the zookeeper has access to it. So let's say I have a 5-foot scale. So if the zookeeper's enclosure is 20 feet by 60 feet, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. That's 60 feet by 5, 10, 15, 20 feet. So this would be a 20-foot by 60-foot zookeeper's enclosure. This is where he or she keeps their supplies. There does have to be a 10-foot wide walkway leading into that. That could be anywhere on here. It doesn't have to be in any specific spot. You can put it over on the edge. You can put it leading into one of the sides, as long as it's 10 feet wide, and again, 5, 10 feet wide. Once you have that, and you can make it longer later on if you need to, all of the animal cages need to surround this so that the zookeeper can go into each of the animal cages to take care of that animal. One of the other things is that you cannot have the same number of sides for any one of the enclosures. So once you have a 4-sided one, you can't have another 4-sided one. But it's really, really easy to create a number of sides by just adding like extensions to an enclosure. You definitely want to make sure you know the boundary between each animal. So let's say, for instance, that I want to make this side, this is going to be my elephant enclosure. So I'm going to make this my 4-sided figure. It does have to have a 10-foot wide moat around it on all sides. And it does have to have a certain number of square footage. And if I make this one my 4-sided figure, now this is water right here, so I can color it as water. And I know that it's 10 feet wide on each side. And I'm going to put a little bridge here for the zookeeper to cross over so that he can take care of the animals. He's going to have to bring his cart across that little bridge. But let's see how much space we have here. 5, 10, 15, 20 feet. By 10, 20, 30, 40, 45. So if this is 45 feet, if I do 20 times 45, that is going to be 900 square feet. So I need to go back and make sure that's going to be enough. If it is, I'm good. But now I'm going to create another enclosure. So next to it, I'm going to create something that doesn't have 4 sides. This one ends right here. Here's the walkway. Here's the gate leading into the zookeeper's enclosure. So this is his path. I'm going to do this. This is his path to get in there. This is the zookeeper's enclosure where he keeps his or her supplies to take care of the animals. Now, I'm going to make my, let's say my hippo enclosure over here. It can't have 4 sides. So how do I give it more than 4 sides? I just make it interesting by doing something like this. So that already has a lot more than 4 sides. If I want to, I can make it so that it has a triangular space cut out of it or added to it. So now I'm not sure this is going to meet the space requirements, but that's why it's scratch work. So I can figure out how much area there is here. I definitely want to make sure this is the boundary between the elephant cage and the, I think this was going to be hippo. So let's figure out, how would I figure out the area of this? I would break it into a triangle right here and 2 squares and a little rectangle and a big rectangle. So let's see how much area there is here. This square right here is 10 by 10, 5, 10, 5, 10, so 100 square feet, since it's 10 foot by 10 foot. So is this one 10 feet by 10 feet, or 100 square feet. This enclosure right here, let's look at its dimensions. It's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40 feet by 10, 20, 35 feet. Okay, and when I do 40 times 35, that's 1,400 square feet. I have plenty of area here already. I can't forget this little rectangle right here. So that is 10 feet by 5 feet, so that's 50 square feet. And then this triangle right here is going to be 10, 20, 30 by 10, so 30 times 10 divided by 2, and you would have to show your calculations on a separate sheet after you finish this, but I'm just trying to lay my zoo out right now. 10 times 30 is 300, 300 divided by 2 is 150, and now I add all that up to see what my total area is for my hippos. So here's elephants. Again, this is scratch work, so it doesn't have to be pretty. This is hippos. Now there is another requirement for hippos that you'll have to go look at as far as how much of it has to be land and how much of it has to be water, but that's plenty of space. So let's count the number of sides on the hippo enclosure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 12 sides. Can't have anything else with 12 sides. But, and I do need to make sure I go all the way around this zookeeper's enclosure. So let's make this my, I'm going to leave this space right here for my irregular shape. Okay, so I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to lay something out over here. Let's say I want this to be my buffaloes. And so my buffaloes don't need a whole lot of space, but I can give them extra space. Can't have a 4-sided figure, can't have a 12-sided figure, so I need something in between. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a stair step. Something like that. So let's count the number of sides to make sure it doesn't have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Good. So this is going to be my irregular shape over here that I'm going to use Pick's formulas on. I'll figure that out later. And so I still have 2 enclosures left, and they need to wrap around somewhere in here. So it has to have straight sides. Can't have 12, can't have 4, can't have 14, but they do. It does need to completely enclose this. So I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to talk you through any more of that, but that could be one of them. And then this could be, oops, I'm at the edge of the screen. So that could be another one that I could figure out the area. And now here's the zookeeper's enclosure. Let's make sure he can get into every cage. He can get in here. He can get in here because there's, again, here is his, where he can get in. He can go in here as long as I don't, he can go in here. Don't want to make sure, I'm going to make sure I put a bridge if that's water. He can get in this one. He can get in this one. He can get in all 6 of them as long as they don't have the same area. And as long as they don't have the same number of sides, I'm good. I am going to have to use Pick's formula on this one where I count the interior points and the boundary points. Separately from all this, you are going to recreate each one of these shapes in the exact same size. And I show you that example in Canvas. Just look at the sample one for calculating area. And you are going to show me how exactly, very neatly, how you got the area for the hippos and how much of it was water and stuff like that. So that's once you lay out your rough draft like that. And it can be pretty scratchy. Your final draft is going to be pretty. Your rough draft does not have to be pretty. But then you are going to go back and recreate each one of these shapes on grid paper separately and show me how you got the area. Break it down neatly, clearly, logically. Okay, so hopefully that helps.